thought I said Mueller, but I said Darren, I think. That's his first name.
The time is 9 a.m. and we will begin the county board of commissioners. So,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
please make sure your phones are turned. So
Here.
Here. Move to approve the minutes of June 2nd, 2026.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Four, one abstaining, one voting to approve the minutes from June 2nd, 2026. Item number 4 is public wish to speak. Okay, public, any organization? No organization, any official?
So Hall Brothers has moved in to spray Maskey Highway. Not sure if they're starting today or if they're still waiting on some equipment, but so I talked with the state and they're able to stage right there at the intersection of 34 and Maskey. Yep. Well, we went by about 8:15 or so, and they had a couple of their vehicles there. So like I said, I'm not sure if they're starting today or if it'll be tomorrow, but that should be happening sometime this week.
Are they doing it shutting down one lane at a time? How
Yeah.
are they?
Yep. They're going to do it
Okay.
under traffic.
Okay.
So then once that's done, I've already got it lined up for striping afterwards. So shouldn't be much of a delay in that. Still getting over roads after all the rain we had. We're short of material, so that's a little harder because we're having to run down to the pits and get rock, and so it's just taking a little extra time. And then I will be gone all next week for our highway superintendent's conference up in Norfolk. Since I sit on the board for that for our association, I have to be up there Monday, and then the last day of the conference is on Thursday, so I'll be gone that whole week. And then Trevor will be up there Tuesday and then be back on Thursday. So. Yes. The guys will call our trainer. If they can't get a hold of him, they call our lead mechanic. Yep. Yep, because most of the issues are going to be with blade guys more than likely. So trainer would be taking that anyway. Then if it has to go higher than that, then it would go to our lead mechanic. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty much just working roads, getting things straightened back out, unless you guys have any questions.
I got a phone call this morning. I did pop in. You guys weren't down there this morning. I know you were out looking at that bridge, but I left a note with Heidi. So I got a phone call this morning about 420th north of Interstate 80. And somebody went sideways at 35 miles per hour after hitting the rumble bars. And then there was an accident, it appears, on 420th where somebody went off the road and hit, and I'm just paraphrasing because this was a phone call this morning, hit something abruptly. I did send an email to Captain Melby. They didn't have a report of any kind of an accident, but it is an area where there's heavy washboards. Is there going to be somebody out there that's going to be maintaining 420
Yeah,
soon?
we've already called them.
You've already what?
We already called them.
So he's going to be out working that road today?
I believe so.
Okay. And then I just received an email also. I did forward it on to you, Trevor and Heidi, about Raymond Road between it looks like west 280th to 308th. And I know that you guys have received several complaints on that area, I think, because I had referred people to you last week about the same area. So they're putting a rock on it right now. Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. So we will move on to number 5, which is commissioner report. I have 2 language I did have a meeting we have different discussions about last night I had interview sequence with applicants and that. And then call about resolution classes. Some of them things, but others beautiful years of online. So when it starts raining, the roads become awful. People looking for head. So we have the ones that go on in the area spot. We have the forward. And then lastly, our favorite, but I did have a discussion with a couple other counties that great job with permit, like for new homes in that area. And I think we've talked about before, but we have a final saying that we have their level. Yeah. Do we have the final they understand what is allowed in this area so that they work basically legal government and all of the things that we talk about. We have that. We don't have something that we can stay online. And then as they are applying, make sure that we're removing the things that are possible. Like they could show up right in the order.
Started off with the city council meeting last week, just a couple of short takeaways there. The state has indicated they will be changing some speed limits on Highway 15 and Highway 34 as they come through Seward. Minor changes, some related to the reconstruction of a couple of years ago. I'm not going to get into specifics with that because I don't think there's going to be anything that's really earth shattering there, but some of the zones will be compressed a little bit. Um, One other thing, the museum needs some additional storage, and they're bringing a shipping container down to the Horseshoe, and the city is going to let them park that down there at the city Horseshoe storage area and leave that in place there. I did have the sheriff's meeting that Scott attended, and it was predominantly a budget discussion as opposed to anything with forfeiture money bills. I believe that they've exhausted their justice money at this point, so there isn't really much more to discuss as far as that goes. I did go into Lincoln and attended a public transit training with the new Black Cat system uh, that will replace the current grant program, but uh, I was not able to get on that system. I had the old laptop from public transit, but in the end, I basically did not stay for the entirety of that. I'm going to work with NDOT this afternoon. I'll be in Lincoln at 2:30 to ramp up with the current system. And this Black Cat system doesn't come online until August. Uh, Hopefully, we will have a director in place at that point, and they can deal with the new system. Uh, Yesterday, I had a PACE board meeting. This is kind of getting into the end of the fiscal year. We did do a performance review with the CEO slash director, and there was a monetary 5% raise given, broken out as 4% salary and a 1% contribution to retirement. Uh, that is something that the board has a discretionary ability to do. Following that PACE meeting, we moved into a Region 5 meeting. Uh, Again, the same situation. End of fiscal year, we did reviews on the director, and the option there was a 5% increase for that director. Uh, I might say that both organizations are financially strong at this point. We're not looking at any deficits. We're probably going into next year with a small surplus. And being the kind of organizations they are, anytime you can have a surplus at the end of a year is kind of a good thing. I continue to work public transit, doing day-to-day work at the West Wing. One of the things that I did pick up was the Visa statement that came for the credit card that public transit used. I was having a very difficult time finding receipts. I spent a good part of yesterday afternoon recreating things with Valentino's, Walmart, and trying to get some help from Amazon. 2 out of 3 isn't bad. I'm going to have to just write off the Amazon receipt and maybe write something to the effect that we cannot locate this receipt, and we'll send it through and pass it off that way. That's all I got.
Last week I attended the NACO Land Use Forum, which was held Wednesday morning in Kearney. So NACO, as everybody knows, has put together a committee related to zoning regulations. And so they're going through that, and that's in regard to the LB 633, I believe, 6663, that was passed. That will go into effect, I believe it's July 17th is when it goes into effect. That committee is also putting together a toolkit to assist counties. They went through a lot of information. I did begin to compile a lot of the information that they went through, and I do have some gaps just because I was taking notes as they were speaking. And so once I have some more of that information to fill in some of those gaps, I will provide to the board kind of a synopsis of what they shared, because I think that it's really helpful to hear kind of what's going on and what they're recommending. So hopefully I will receive the rest of that information sometime this week, and I'll try to get that out by next week. As you know, I received a bunch of calls and messages regarding road conditions. I have forwarded those on to the roads department, and I've also encouraged people to contact the roads department so that it's documented. We need that information for statistically, but also for follow-up purposes. I did complete several employee evaluations, and those have been submitted. I also led the Juvenile Comprehensive Plan meeting yesterday. We adopted a mission and a vision statement that will go on our social media profiles, as well as a logo. So those will become active, and we'll begin sharing information within the next couple of weeks. I'll also be working with Misty to meet with department heads and officials regarding kind of where we're at with the budget and some recommendations that we have moving forward. I also, in Allison's absence from Aging Services, I do have access to those emails, and so I'm going through those. I will be checking her any phone calls and messages that are left. And also, I will be meeting with Sherry Leising today to do some reconciliation regarding expenditure statements for Aging Services. That's all I have.
Great. And we'll go for our next 16 tab item, which is opening and awarding Rocky Travel Kits for the department.
I will move that we open the bids for rock and gravel. Yes.
Yes.
First one is John Sand and Gravel. It says so 17.50% delivered to the state, 30%.
How much was that a ton?
Yeah, bid price is 17.50 a ton, and then delivery to missile base is $30.
Dale R. Johnson.
Aren't there two Johnsons? Isn't it like Dale R. Johnson and then Johnson? Okay.
That one was the first one was Johnson Sand and Gravel, and this is Dale R. Johnson. So hit site 1770. Garland stockpile. Delivery price 29.65.
There's a note on here that says before the war, the fuel price was $3.39. A surcharge will be added if fuel prices increase over $3.39.
What's the surcharge? Do we know?
The fuel surcharge. More than likely. So yeah, if it goes over $3.39 a gallon, then $29.55. It doesn't say what it's going to be or anything.
James Enterprise from Martel.
So this one is just for hauling rock. So next page. So here for Garland, if it's from Beatrice, will be $15.25 for all three locations. And if it comes from Weeping Water, it will be $13.45 for all three locations.
They're not on the sheet.
So pit price $13.50 for gravel, and delivery prices for Garland $35.25, Grover $33 for 5, and Thistle Base $29.45. And then hauling of rock, Garland $12.25, Grover $14.50, and Thistle Base $14.50.
Where's that pit? Where's that pit?
This one's out of Gibbon.
For the Southwest Gravel Pond.
Okay, this one's for road gravel. Pit price $15.25 per ton. Garland $30.09 per ton. Grover $29.90. And Thistle Base $29.79. Okay, so this one's gonna be for rock. Delivery price for Garland $14.25. Grover $15. And Thistle Base $15.50. And if they were to pull, sorry, those were for Hereford limestone. They were pulling that quarry. This one is for Sykes, Beatrice. Garland would be $17.25. Grover $15.25. And Thistle Base $19.50.
Do you want to right now, or do you want?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah, okay. Yep, got, all right, so we'll go back to this, to the award, and then we'll go to the next item, which is resolution 3939, operating and execution of agreement with the Ross Department of Transportation for project number NH-0 Seward Sale. The agreement that you signed last week, there just needed to be a resolution with it, so resolution that goes along with it.
Did you? I will move that we approve Resolution 3939, which authorizes the execution of agreement with the Nebraska Department of Transportation for project number N8-80, parentheses 110, Seward Pleasantdale.
Second.
Klein,
Yes.
Rocky,
Yes.
Eric? Yes. That is 441, absent not voting, for resolution 3939. Okay. Yeah. We're going to see that 5. will reconvene meeting with our next 25 planned items is a set plan B proposal request for the search center.
Tongue twister, isn't it?
Good morning.
Morning.
I had emailed you guys some information regarding staffing within the jail. This included a step pay plan proposal and the purpose of what a step plan can do for the jail and the benefits it would have. It also reflects the staffing issues we are continuing to have. We have 4 opening positions right now. We have had 1 job posted since March. That job has been offered to 2 people and they have declined. So we're going on 3 months with this vacant spot outside of the other 3 positions that are needing to be filled. With that being said, that gave me, you know, looking at other opportunities on how we can improve staffing, and overall, it really comes down to pay. We're losing too many officers to other departments, other agencies, and when I started really putting these numbers together, the cost that we're putting into new employees is significantly higher than we should ever be putting into to recruit anyone to come in. We need to be holding the officers we have here. And with that being said, I'm looking at options for retention. So this step plan would really have the purpose is to retain the officers we have. We have put in roughly $6,200 on an average per officer in the last 3 years, which includes the cost to train the officer, the process of hiring them, the uniforms, jail school, the boarding and food for jail school, the psych eval. There's a lot that goes into a new employee. Daryl, I'm with you. I'm seeing that the hiring bonus isn't working right now. We thought that was a solution. It's not. This isn't working. This job's been posted with a hiring bonus for months, and it's not enough. We are in a position, if we lose more officers, we could be in a real bind here. I have the few officers I have working, we have them sometimes at times working the jail as the only officer on the floor. And I can tell you that is not safe. When we meet the standards for male and female being at the jail, it is becoming a problem with safety. Our population's changed. From 10 years ago, it was said from jail standards, we could run a jail with 2 officers in the facility. That is not the case anymore. We talked to jail standards recently, and we have more max inmates classified, more medium inmates, more than ever. Mental health, as we know, is on a rise. That is not safe to have 1 officer on the floor. We cannot continue running the jail like that. In order for this to happen, you guys, we have to have a plan in place to retain the officers, to prevent them from leaving. Some of the stats I put together, we lost 7 officers in 24, 5 officers in 25, 4 officers in 26, and we are 6 months into the year. We are constantly getting contacted by other departments on background checks for our current employees. It's terrifying as a director. It's terrifying as the community. You guys need to understand where we are with this jail being at a dire need to retain the staff. I have looked at between 2024 and 2026, we put in over $73,000 for new hires. When we talk about the budget, we talk about salaries. The money is there. We have the money because we're using it somewhere else. We're just not putting it where we should be. Retain the officers should be the most important thing we have. When we have a good officer that's leaving, it's really heartbreaking. It's not what we want. Um, since the commissioners had voted on the 2 and 2 increase between the increase in pay and the merit increase, 3 officers put in the resignation because it wasn't enough. We have other officers looking to do the same thing. I have to propose an idea to keep them, and that's where the step plan pay comes into place. We did a regional comparison on other counties, not with just pay, but what shift diff, who's offering shift difference, what step plan, what agencies are utilizing the step plans, and it's all of them but Seward County. So all it is gives other individuals or correctional officers hope that they can max out somewhere else, and it's more of a promise than we can make. So they're going to leave, and that's just what they're doing. We have essential employees of the jail. I understand our department is very much different from other departments. They're essential employees. We have officers working holidays, nights, weekends, covering for sick calls. We have males and females being called in on their day off to cover this because we have a staffing issue. Every week we have a staffing issue. I have an officer here right now who works nights. He has worked 25 hours overtime to cover. He's a new officer, 6 months in. We're going to burn him out before he can have an opportunity to be here for a year. You know, we're going to either eat at the cost in our salaries or we're going to eat the cost in our overtime. But that is where it's going to come from. I'm no longer running the jail, one person on the floor. I can't do it. It's not safe. We can't be in that position to put the community at a liability. We have to have more options. I think the step plan is a start. There's a higher increase that would be needed for the salaries. However, it was calculated for the correctional officers increase, it's $30,000. And when you're dealing with a $1.6 million budget, that's a number we could work with.
I have a couple questions and comments for you.
Mhm.
The data that you compiled, you mentioned regional. I don't necessarily agree with Buffalo or Ohio. We do have districts in NACO. It would be helpful for me to see the data from the districts that include Butler County, Taft County, Wilmar County, Jefferson County, Johnson County, Nassau County, Odo County, Richardson County, Clay County, Air County, all like out. For me personally, it's helpful to look at it. So to see that information is very helpful for me. That golden I know it's really
Well, it's not easy because they're negotiating too. So it's not going to be numbers that are accurate, and that's where we're always fighting. And we also look at options that are realistic that someone's going to go to. They're not going to go to Thayer County, Johnson County. They're not going to drive those distances. Those jails are downsizing.
Okay, so the second piece of information is on the bottom of your proposal, you mentioned that center is the only department that generates revenue in the county. That's not true. So you that's $96,000, but most departments $30 one way. Those are all sort of the going departments, one not the department starting, so we'll start here. We didn't have that, we weren't generating revenue, our work generating revenue. The levy was
And we cannot take safe keeps, and we're not going to take safe keeps, so we are not going to make money. Mhm.
It would be helpful to see the data on our district, and then I just want to clarify that. And you know, I mean, don't work with every department like that, but there are multiple departments that actually generate that. Now, as far as your proposal, I would say, if I hear you, I've been hearing you, but I also hear about the you're telling me about the
Mhm.
there's another department which like they also work like the holidays and they're out there and there's a problem. Last year I thought there was a problem.
Mhm.
I It doesn't always work that way. I recognize that there are specific which people are doing that, and represent as well, where we're doing that by certain groups, we're doing something. But I think that we're going to, for me personally, I can't get behind that. It's not a kind of advice, but right, it's just on the topic. I can get behind looking at the data, looking at the stats, move the dial, and move the wave up beyond say the 60 or 2. That one's that I definitely get behind. For all of the that's why I think it would be very helpful to see that data, specifically, like I said, in our district, and then figure out where we're at, at that entry level, and then potentially moving our sort of wage to that, but making the adjustment internally as well. So like, I'll say, the starting wage right now is 23, and we move it up to 25, I would bet every other, there versus the make sure we wouldn't just leave them where they're at, say, as 23.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I proposed the 2%, it was because of just what you're saying. Like they need something, they need to know that like after someone I would like to see that number sure, but I think we have to first figure out how that works and then specifically how to evaluation and area properly before we start that. Also, we can only do so much every year, right? So really just much on top of budget. So it's one where and maybe the point like we learn about all the different right? So we have to look at it. So I'm not saying no, but I don't agree with the follow. I'm not saying no, but I don't agree that we should raise wages. I'm saying to leave
I do have a question in regard to the regional wage comparison for Seward. Is the 2337 that you have listed, is that current or is that with the 2% increase?
That is
July
prior
1st?
to the 2% increase. So
Okay.
it'd go up, I think it was like 49 cents.
So I think that needs to be included because that's already been voted on. So we're going to increase that. So that data should increase, right?
It would increase. This was set obviously before the 2 and 2 was in place. So I've been working on this for quite a while. That detail has not been changed in this comparison, but as you can see, it still is significantly lower.
I understand that, but when you're coming and you're asking for us to make changes, it would be helpful, especially with Commissioner Amick's recommendation, where we're going to potentially, if we can move that dial, to know what the true baseline starting salary is going to be for this next budget year. Because this is not going to affect this current budget year, it's going to affect the next budget year. So having that starting salary be set at what that starting salary is going to be is important. And then secondly, of the counties that you have listed here, how many of them are, oh gosh, I lost the word, union?
It's listed on here.
Far right column.
And
Okay.
I'm going to let Charles talk about this one because he's the one that kind of reached out and did those kind of comparisons and got the information.
Yeah.
Nope. Go ahead. You were. No, I wasn't.
I'll weigh in a little bit here with this. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. The information we got is what we received. I asked, all these different counties, agencies, for the exact information. Some, were very forthcoming. Others were kind of, they indicated that they were currently under union, contracts or negotiations. As far as the ones that are currently, identified as union, they are listed on the comparison. The ones that are blank in that column are ones that did not respond to us, and I could not find anything on their current website.
Thank you.
I'll echo a little bit of what Misty said. I can't get behind the step. When we had our discussions last week, I like the idea of the step. I mean, on paper, it looks very good, and it, in a sense, solves your problem to some degree, at least in the short run. But when you look at what we have to deal with budgetarily in the way of caps, and we don't even know what our CPI or slice is going to be for this year yet, uh, we're at a real issue as far as how we can find the revenue to even implement a step. Now, I'd be more on board with, again, like what Misty alluded to, is the idea of raising incrementally the starting wages and then moving up the chain a little bit to make some adjustments as we go further up the seniority rank with this. I mean, let's recognize you got a problem. I'm not going to deny that. And it's been an ongoing problem for the 6 years I've sat in this chair. It's been an ongoing problem. But again, to Misty's point, it's been a 6-year problem with the road department too. It's the same song, second verse, so to speak. Uh, the one thing with your comparables, I mean, let's be honest. Douglas, Sarpy, Lancaster, those are all large metropolitan areas with large jails that have an entirely different type of, I'll say, inmate population. I don't think they're comparables. So to me, they don't belong in this comparison. And I'll even throw in Hall and Buffalo on that basis, larger metropolitan areas that really don't compare with us. I would like to see the data that goes back to our region. And we are starting to rely more and more on NACO data, and that seems to be, I'm going to say, somewhat in line with what our comparables are. Now, we do have one unique situation here, our proximity to Lincoln, and I'll give you that. That's the one area that we can't really compete with because they have the big facility, they pay the better wage, and you've got the state corrections departments there as well that have a bearing on what we can do. And I understand all of that. But again, we're back to budgetary constraints that the legislature has mandated. And we reach a cap eventually where there's just not much more we can do with that. So then it's a matter of where can we pull money from one place and bring it to another to hopefully maybe give you what you need to find that 30,000 that maybe gets us to a point where you can survive, so to speak. And I'm not going to dispute the fact that you got an issue. Uh, I wouldn't want to work your jail as the sole person on the floor. I understand that. I go back 40, 50 years and I can remember being the sole deputy a few nights out there. I didn't like that either, but that goes back a number of years. So it's not that I don't support what you want. It's just that I can't feasibly find a way to get to it.
One more thing though, can you hear me now, Roxy? Is it better? Okay. With the, I'm gonna break it today. It's gonna happen. With the request for the data, just a note, last year we had the data, like when it came to the roads department, for example, and I had asked for a week to review it because I didn't agree with it. I thought it was low, right? So I just want to clarify, even if the data shows something lower, it doesn't mean that that's what I'm going to suggest. I'm just saying it's helpful for us to review that before we sort of make that decision. There's nothing that says we have to be right in the middle. We could all agree to jump it up a little bit to be more competitive, but I think it is helpful just to see that data for that purpose. It doesn't mean we agree with the data, right? It just means it's helpful when we're talking about NACO and we're talking about regions. It is helpful to have that picture in mind. And also, I think it's important that you guys understand too, is that's how we're looking at all departments within the county also, because we're trying to be consistent. So we're looking at the Southeast District as a comparison for the entire county. And we want to try and remain consistent with that. I believe you worked for the jail how many years ago was it that there were significant bumps in departments? It was prior to me being on the board, but I was attending a lot of those meetings. So maybe 22.
Yeah.
And that created, I mean, as I'm sure many of you remember, it created a lot of angst and a lot of frustration with a lot of departments because there were some significant bumps that were given. We're trying to be as consistent as we possibly can, but we do have to acknowledge the fact that it's your department and the roads department that consistently have vacancies. And so we're dealing with the same issues in two departments. So again, I don't necessarily agree with the step plan. I would be interested in looking at data and potentially looking to see what we can do. But here's another thing that you guys need to be aware of. Missy and I are going to be meeting with department heads and officials to talk about the budget as a whole for next year. It's going to be a challenge. it's going to be, this next year is going to be tough and we are short. And that is difficult leading into a budget year. Um, I've been losing sleep over this since January and then finding out that we're in more of a pickle than we knew um, creates a lot more angst. I would love to be able to give your department a significant increase, but we also have to be fiscally responsible. And I understand that you're losing people, and I am sad to hear that because I know how hard you're working. It's been less than a year since you've been in your position. Um, Treslow, I think you've been here for 2.5 years. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you've seen a significant amount of turnover. That's hard on your department as a whole. It's hard on the rest of your staff. I look at the overtime. So each pay period, when we go through claims, I look at the amount of overtime worked. I do know that one of your officers is working a significant amount of overtime. I see it. Um, but at the end of the day, we have to look. We can only increase by so much, and it's going to be a challenge.
One of the things I'll say is they are essential services. They're not like every other department in the county. They are essential services. We don't have a choice. We have to man in 24 hours a day. She touched on the fact that when we have a good employee that's willing to come in when somebody calls in sick or something like that, it's good to have employees like that, but you can burn them out,
Mhm.
and it's going to happen. Uh, One of the other things we need to consider is the liability of having one person on that floor. The one thing I respected Maria for, and I respect Sarah for, and Andrew, is they don't want to lower the standards to get just anybody in that jail. Because I look at that as a lawsuit waiting to happen. When you hire people that should not be working in that field, then things can happen inside that jail that can cost me and the county money.
Mhm.
None of us want to lower, I don't think any of y'all want to lower our standards on who we put in that jail to work. But it is an unsafe environment to have one person on that floor by themselves. And everybody, I want everybody to at least think about that. You know, we have spent more money with hiring bonuses, the training, than what it would cost to do that step plan. And we're going to continue to spend more money on retraining people, getting people in here, buying them uniforms, sending them to jail school, paying for them to stay at jail school, the gas and everything. It's always going to be more to do that, to keep employees going through that revolving door than it is to have that step plan. One of the reasons that these agencies that they checked with, and I understand that we can't compete with Lancaster County or Douglas County, Sarpy County, but we have to consider that's where our people are going to, because that's where the money's at. You know, it's, people are not going to, we all know that working in a jail like ours is much safer than working at Tecumseh or someplace like that, or even the women's prison. But the money is attracting them to a more dangerous job when they should be staying here. I mean, not that our jail is not dangerous. Any jail has its dangers, but it's not like working in a state prison or the big facilities, even Lancaster County. But we have to consider those agencies right around us that people are willing to drive through to get more money.
So, Mike, I don't think, at least I haven't heard it, and I'm going to go to you in a sec, Scott. I don't think anybody's saying we don't agree that we need to change something. I think what we're saying is that the step plan is not something that, at least what I've heard from you two, we can get behind for one department. can we modify the wages? Can we be competitive and can we pay more? Yeah, we can do that. We can take a look at that data and we can do that. But I think in regards to specifically the step plan, at least it starts the conversation, right? I don't think anyone here is opposed to increasing that should we have the data that supports it, which I'm sure that we will find. But I think in regards to the step plan, I hear what you're saying, but I don't think increasing wages, I I think long term, the step plan, like I said, as because we used to have something similar, has issues. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. I'm not trying to avoid increasing wages. Again, let's say we were to increase this year, like we talked about, and then we have that consistent, like no matter what, you're getting this percentage every single year moving forward. My hope is that that stays competitive. Not only do I know I'm increasing it similar to a step plan, it's just a set rate, then I'm also qualifying for merit on top of that. And so I think there are tools that we can use that are same premise, just not, this bracket and this bracket, and then we have to stay so far away. It just gets muddy. And I remember that that's kind of what was happening back then when we were doing those increases. So I just want to clarify. Me personally, I don't think I heard it from those two. I don't think we're saying no to increasing. I think we're saying the stop plan is difficult. I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Is your microphone on?
I don't think we're on. Turn. Yeah, he needs a new battery too.
He needs a new battery. Grab the other microphone next to you.
Well, battery change day. Technology's not perfect. Interesting, but the battery cost.
Mine shows low battery now.
I still got a green light. What happens when you have a
I
low
don't
battery?
think I need it right now, but it's getting yellow.
Is yours still working?
Any better?
Yes.
Any better? All right. Okay. All right. Coming back to talking about geographically locations, Seward just we're just not in a good place geographically to be competitive with the larger populations. And I think that's something we need to consider whether we do just a raise or we implement a step pay system that is going to work for a particular department. Now, no other departments other than, does the sheriff, do you use Panama?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have Panama schedule with the jail, Panama schedule with the sheriff's department. So we're doing things differently with other departments. So I understand wanting to keep everything the same. I get that. However, law enforcement and the jail is not the same. It's not the same as roads. Um, things are going to be different. And if you look at the money that they're spending just to train people, have those people stay here a year maybe and go to Lancaster County, go to York, go to Douglas, wherever they can go get more money. We're in a situation, we're in a culture that we didn't have 40 years ago, where you went to a job, you stayed there for a number of years. Anymore, and I seen this at LAS when I was there. I seen it with all departments, that people would come in, they would job hop. Now, going to LAS it's a pretty good company, right? But yet they would move and move and move. So somehow we need to figure out how to put some stability into the jail. We have the jail and we have roads that we have a lot of high turnover on. And I think, we're trying with roads. We just took a bunch of money out of inheritance to create a super crew that we still haven't assembled yet. So I think that there's nothing wrong with looking at other ways of doing things. And with the jails, proposal, I guess I came from the STEP program, so I understand that it is something to where you start as jailer one, and you go to then you work your 6 months, and you go to jailer two. You know that you're going to get that 67 cents when you hit jailer two. So it's something for people to know. Here is my next step. As long as things are going good for me, and and I like it, and things like that. But the whole one size fits all, I just don't think we're in a culture area that we can continue to do that. We really need to look at what works for each individual department. And maybe the STEP program, we need to just look at it and say, okay, so how many dollars will it increase our next budget? Okay. So we can figure out our next budget, how many dollars that's going to increase based on the step. You have certain amount of employees, they start at jailer 2, they go to jailer 3 within that 1 year's time. We know what that is, so we can budget for it. But I just have a problem with the fact that, well, this is the way we've always done it, so we don't want to change it. And I
But
think
it's not the way we've always done it.
I think, well, by not
We used to have a STEP program.
implementing, well, seeing that was before me.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, I came from a STEP program,
Mhm.
and I understand we only have a certain size pie. We have to divvy everything up. But we also have a department where we are hemorrhaging money, training people, and watching them walk out the door.
Okay, so and I hear what you're saying. And to Misty's point, something similar has been used in the past and they went away from that because it wasn't effective. So that has been used. Private is different than public. So government entities are different than
It was public.
utility companies. But it's different. The LES didn't have a cap that was placed on it by the legislature.
You're right.
And they don't have slice that says you can only grow by this much depending on what your valuations are. So while I understand what you're saying, and could we compare? Yes, but it's not the same. So we're comparing apples to oranges in the first place. So what we have done is we did set a 2% increase minimum per year. Now, could merit potentially change in the future and be increased? Yes. So that is something new. So we are not staying with the status quo. We have implemented something different, and we are trying something different. We are in June. Budgets start in July to try and implement a STEP program, because if that were going to be the case, then it would need to be something I would suggest is that it should probably be done for the roads department too. There's not a lot of time to do that and to pull all of the data that would support what that's going to look like within a month. But also, going back to what was initially stated, we're not saying no, but we have to look at all of the information in relationship to the Southeast District and what those comparables are. Otherwise, even with a step plan, that would have to be adjusted every single year because it's going to be dependent potentially on what other counties are doing. And so if Lancaster County, who has a significantly higher tax base than Seward County, increases, let's just say $3 an hour, how are we going to implement that into a step plan to try and keep people? Because we're always going to be playing this game, right? Where we're competing. I think that by doing what we are doing this year, which again is new, we've done an increase of 2% for all positions, and then potentially additional 2% merit on top of that. I think that is moving the needle. And again, we're going to look at the data of our district and see if we can move the needle from there. I don't see how it's going to work.
Can I address something? Misty, when was the STEP plan in place and what department was it?
It was countywide, and
Okay.
it was countywide, and it was in place until whenever we started doing those across the board. So I want to say 2022, 2023. It had been in place before then.
So the STEP Clay, step plan was, you're saying was in the jail as well?
It was everywhere. It was countywide. Yes, it was.
It was like
And I,
17 different steps. I
it
mean, it was
was. It,
a pretty
Okay,
and
broad
specifically,
process.
okay,
and let's talk about the jail specifically. So
okay.
here's what happened. Maria came in, she had data. She's like, same sort of thing. Like, oh, like we're not competitive. We're losing people. And we're like, okay, yeah. And so then we specific to corrections officers. So we increase the corrections officers. But then because we increased the correction officers, they were in a different step. And so then we have to increase other positions that maybe weren't necessarily hard to fill because they have to remain so many steps away from this step.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I'm saying it gets muddy, right? Because then it's like, okay. And it was the same thing sort of in every other department as well. Instead of looking at the position and the fact that like okay this position is not competitive and like we need to raise the position, it didn't allow us to do that. We had to, it was like a blanketed sort of thing, and that was what was really ineffective. So I do have a question for you, Mike. So let's say just hypothetically that we were to approve a STEP program for the jail. Is the sheriff's department coming back for a STEP program?
That would be something we discuss with the
So
commissioners in the
the
future.
answer is probably yes. Okay, and so then the roads department's going to come, and then the assessor's office, and then the clerk's office, and then everywhere else. And so while we're looking at it budgetarily, my question for you is, does the STEP program include a cost of living increase or a merit ever? Or is it just the STEP? I'm just trying to clarify.
So the step plan I have in place, the percentage increase for each step is a merit. And so with that being said, there's a lot of, let's just go back to,
Go back. So it's a merit, so you don't get to increase a step unless you earn it?
you have to earn it. It's performance based.
Okay.
And so 5%, we'll just say, is this to get to step 2. There's so much more you can weigh. You can weigh in not just job duties, but their consistency coming to work. Are they on time? Are they doing their job? Do they know their job? You can just hold them accountable. I mean, I'm in a position where I can't hold my officers accountable. I cannot.
Okay.
I can't.
So I
Do,
hear
I
what you're
can't use
saying.
discipline on an officer because I can't give them a day off
So let me ask you a
because I need them
question
for
then.
staffing.
In your evals for say last year, this year, is there anybody not getting the full merit?
Possible.
Okay. So unfortunately, what's happened in Stewart County, this is not a you thing. What's happened, and I said this when I suggested the 2% and the 2%, we're not using evals correctly. We're not using merit correctly. And then what happens is because we're not doing the correct documentation and we're not being realistic with evals, there could be an issue, like a staffing issue. And then we have no documentation that supports it because maybe the eval says everything is great and 100% and you're doing 150% on everything, which is not realistic for every single employee. And then we are in a pickle, right? And so I, I think it's challenging for me to say, like you just said, you have to earn the steps. I would rather someone knows that they're definitely increasing every year and have the opportunity to earn additional than blocking them in. That's my challenge.
If you have those people, and I don't know about other people's evals.
Sure.
I know our evals are done on honest evaluation,
So,
because if somebody's not performing what they're supposed to do, I don't want them here.
okay, so my question for you is there how many, how do I say this in the right way? This year, basically, and I know your forms are different, so that aside, but basically, if you are showing up and you're meeting expectations and you're doing your job, you're for sure getting at least a 1.5% increase. If you are like kicking, like you are knocking it out of the park and you are doing fantastic and you're above and beyond and there's noticeable recognition, you're getting that additional. And I think to your point, I think we want to see that get increased. Like I'd love to be like, okay, 5% on top of that. But my challenge is that if we're just automatically giving everybody the full, there's nothing to work towards because they know every year, okay, we're getting this and we're getting this. So
Like I said, I don't know about other departments, but I know with the jail and us, there's been people that didn't get their merit raise.
okay, so when you say didn't get merit, meaning they got nothing, or you're saying they didn't get full merit, because
Well, there's been some that didn't get any merit
okay,
raise,
thank you for
and there's
clarification.
been some that got a partial merit raise.
So with your current forms though, I've heard this bandied about. I don't know how true it is. But with your merit is either an all or nothing. You either get 0 or you get the full 2. Is there room in that form for it to be something less?
Yes,
So the calculations that are built into that form, when you're going through the evaluation process, you could get a 3.5, you could get a 3.2, you could get a 4, but it's not an all or nothing. You're not either getting nothing or you're getting the full 2, and there's nothing in the middle.
what we've done is if they didn't get enough because the points are calculated automatically when you put their scores in there. There has been people, I know there was one in the jail last year that we did not give the full merit raise to. We just gave them a partial merit raise. But that's a decision that the department head makes. Do they deserve a partial or do they deserve the full? Because if they don't have enough points that accumulate where we say you don't get a merit raise, then I know last year we made the decision not to give someone the full merit raise.
I feel like that's not merit though, and I think that that's the disconnect. Like that's where we're struggling is like we want to give everybody it's are you meeting expectations? Yes, then you're getting a full merit. But I think the purpose and what we're saying is we want to see that grow is to allow for people to like go above and beyond and do more and earn more and not for it to just be like I'm showing up, I'm doing my job, I'm doing what I need to do, so I'm getting the full. And I think that's sort of the challenge. But that is not about the STEP program. So I'm sorry. Let's
Well,
get back on that.
you know, there's a lot of benefits to having a step plan. You know, the county can, like Scott said, you can forecast, you can already, you know, have a good idea on what your payroll is going to be for the next year. I'm to the point where I have no idea how much to budget because I have to take impact. I have to think about a hiring bonus. Right now, I'm going to be $21,000 going to salary, starting out my salary, because I'm predicting I will need 4 vacant spots that's going to need a hiring bonus to get applicants. That's right now. I have 7,000 that's going into this new fiscal year that has to be paid out. That's $21,000. When you think about the 30,000 increase to retain the current officers, it's so important that they have an opportunity to see what they have potential to grow there. They're leaving because they don't see the potential. And quite frankly, I think they don't see the benefit of staying because they don't have enough belief in the commissioners giving them appropriate pay to keep up what they need to provide for their families.
Okay, so another question for you. If we go to a step plan, are you going to eliminate hiring bonuses?
That's my whole, I would love to.
And there's no
I
other
would love
merit
to.
or increase at all. It's just the step program.
I mean, I have to get applicants first. I can't predict what's going to be like. I can't
Okay, so
predict
that's
that.
what
I
I'm
can't
saying.
say
Sarah,
that.
here's the thing. So me personally, I'm not for a step. I'm just not. You're not going to convince me. We've had it. It was ineffective. What I am for is really looking at that data and being able to make that fix now today, right? I think this any version of step program is going to take longer than what we have. And I think that there is an issue. I am hearing you. I think that we have issues in the roads department too. And I think we need to get that data and make that adjustment now so that we can budget for it. My hope is that, I mean, I know Roxy, yes, you can. I know Roxy can help with some of that data too. And Andrew, thank you for collecting what you did. I just want to clarify. Go ahead. No, you're not.
I have to leave. Um,
You go. You tell me what you
I
need to tell
gotta
me.
leave.
Okay, you're fine. You're okay.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
I'm just really trying to avoid sending inmates out. It's going to be
Get
over
it.
67,000, and
But
that is a
Sarah,
difference on
I'm
other
literally
departments.
saying here I am.
Yeah.
I'm totally, so you're telling
Yeah.
me that unless it's a step program, we're not going to get anybody. If we raise the wages today to make them competitive, that you're not going to get anybody because it's not a step program. I have a hard time believing that. I do want to fix it. I do want to increase. I do want to be competitive. But there are options outside of a step plan to do that. I think we're acknowledging it. I'm acknowledging it. I hear you. I don't want there to be one person either. I don't like that either. I hear what you're saying. But I'm saying I don't think that this is the right path forward. I do think regardless of if this comes back around in the future, we do need to address it today. So I agree with you on that.
So how do we come up with the appropriate number?
We get the data from the district that's been requested, and then we discuss that and we make that adjustment, and then Sarah can budget for it,
Okay.
including
So
still all the other stuff.
So roads department and jail are not the same. They are
No
not the
department
same.
is the same.
They, I guess I would like to see us try the STEP program and see where we can go, and specifically for the jail, because obviously we have an issue. We have retention, we have hiring. If we need to move prisoners out to some other location, it's going to cost the county a lot of money.
So
It's going to cost
Scott,
the county a lot more money than what.
I'm asking you the same question I'm asking her. So you're saying if we don't go to a STEP program, we increase and we're competitive, we increase our wages, but it's not a STEP program. You're telling me we're not going to get anybody, and we're not going to. We're the problem.
We'll get some people, yeah.
I'm sorry. That
But then are you
is
going to
not
continue
rational.
with the hiring bonus?
Yes, I think everything still stays the same. What I have been saying this whole time
Obviously,
is
the hiring bonus has not been effective.
because the wages are too low. That's what I'm hearing her say.
So in your argument, then the wages would have to go up significantly.
We
I'm
don't-
saying they need to go up to be competitive with the district.
Okay. So when I'm looking here, 2337, and I understand that's not the new number.
It's
And
very close.
I'm looking at other ones. I mean, we're close, but you're going to have to go at least $2 or $3 an hour more.
This is not the data from our region. And even
I understand.
even if we were at $2 or $3 more, yes, I get it. But that's part of making sure that we're looking at that data is it 2 years or 3 years, Roxy? 3 years. Now we're outside of that. We're already outside of that, and we're seeing that there's a problem. And I hear what you're saying, the roads department is not the same, but the roads department is similar in that we have constant turnover. And yes, we did put money aside for a new crew that he's not getting any applicants for because the wages are not high enough. So it's recognizing that there's a problem in both
Mhm.
and doing something to address it now, which is raising the wages. We're talking about the same thing. We're just talking about it in different forms. If we raise the wages and then we know that consistently, no matter what, every year they're getting to and merit,
Right.
it is sort of a step plan. It is. I'm expected. I know I'm getting this every year moving
what
forward.
information will the director have to bring back to present to the board that would be satisfying for a dollar raise for each position or a $3 raise? Um, I want to make sure that the information comes back here in the right format,
Yeah.
so that we can discuss it and move forward. I'm seeing we're not on the same page as far as the STEP program, and I understand that. But I want to know, what is our solution?
This is awesome. Thank you for doing this. This is really helpful. But seeing the same information you can see I wrote down all of the other, seeing it just for our district as well would be helpful. We have this already. I don't need this specifically again. We can still take that into consideration, but this was perfect. Thank you so much for doing this. This is helpful. It's just not really regional or not really in our district. Adams County is not in our district.
No,
York
I
County
agree.
is
I
very
agree.
close though. So I wouldn't even say anything about that. Platte County, Hall County, Buffalo County, not in our region. So if I had something to look at that was a little bit more regional, and I hear what you're saying too. I'm not going to look at someone like what's the one, Thayer County, they're rebuilding right now. I'm not going to. That's not what my point is, and that's why I was saying I realize that those might be lower paying, and so it might bring that average down. But it would be helpful to see the others in our area or in our district that are close or similar. So then we make
Some of
that
these were
adjustment.
based on bed size also.
I know, but that's why I'm saying when I'm looking at the data personally, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, Thayer County only pays this. That's not apples to apples. I get that. But what I'm saying is the district will give us a good look at nearby and kind of what is in our area more than looking at, okay, let's look at Platte County. Okay, let's go over here to Hall County. Let's go over here to this because it is different depending on where you're at in the state.
Okay, so maybe we should just come up with a list right now to make sure that the information comes back in a correct format.
We
then.
do have the list, the Southeast District.
Okay, and that's through NACO.
Yes.
Yes. Also, when you guys were putting together the data, did you ask those other counties what their attrition rate is? Like how many people they have lost in the last year, how many vacant positions they currently have, just to get an idea as to, I mean, and I'll just tell you, like when I go to the NACO meetings hear the same thing across counties, especially within our region. It's the same problem, right? Staffing is an issue in all of the local county jails in our region. I think that that's important to know too, because, and that's not necessarily something that you have to necessarily get data for us. That might be something that I call and just ask some of this for myself, because we're not necessarily going to lose somebody to Buffalo, right? We're going to lose somebody to York. We're going to lose somebody to Lancaster. We're going to lose somebody to Butler. We're going to lose
Sargent.
people to surrounding counties.
communities, yep.
We're not going to lose people way out west. But I think it's important to understand like what their staffing levels are too, because my understanding is that it's across the board. It's not just Seward
That's
County.
correct. Yep.
We know that, right? But is it always the money? Is it the same thing in other counties? So these other counties who are paying more than we are, is it the same thing? Are they losing people because they are not getting applicants because of the pay? Because then my, not to drag this on, but if that's the case and say these are not actual statistics, so I'm just using this as an example. Let's say we increase the starting wage to $30 an hour, right? Are we going to have the same issue because somebody else is greater than that? You see what I'm saying? So it's this constant battle.
It's always going to be a cat and mouse. It's always going to be.
Oh, yeah.
I understand that,
yeah,
but what
we know
is
that.
there, if we're comparable then with a surrounding county? That's my question. Like, are we increasing, and yet in 6 months you're going to have the same problem?
I would like to say no, based off of the fact that I have worked in different environments, and kind of like the sheriff said, this is a different environment than it is in Lancaster or Douglas. I've been to
For
numerous
sure.
jails around the state, in different prison locations. The one thing that we have that is one of our big selling points for applicants is we provide indirect supervision. A lot of the bigger jails, you are required to actually stay in a housing area, work a housing area with up to 64 inmates for your 8-hour shift. That is extremely stressful. You go home, you don't just fall asleep and flip your switch back to a normal family guy or gal. We do have a pretty safe environment here. Any jail, big or small, it presents its challenges and its safety issues. Our thing is it's preservation of life, but that's our big selling point here in our jail in Seward is that we don't have, you do indirect supervision, which ultimately means that, our officers go into the housing areas, approximately every 30 minutes to ensure the safety and the well-being of all the inmates that are in there. So if we could potentially, look at a significant, however you want to phrase it, base salary for our staff, I think that's how we sell it is that the fact that, yeah, it is always a cat and mouse, and the people that are going to leave, but ultimately we have really great pros on our side, in addition now to the potential of the salary income that you can earn as well. The step plan, for us, it was a long-term growth hope. It's to see that, hey, if I stay here at this jail, working for this county, working for this community, providing safety, in 8 years, 10 years, whatever it is, I can be making this amount of money for my family. I can start a family. I can buy a home.
See,
And-
Andrew, that exact thing that you're saying
Uh-huh.
is why you are so right. But that is why I asked for that 2%, which, and I've talked to Roxy, like, let's say that could be different. That could increase. Because as it is now, it's like, okay, what are the commissioners going to vote this year? There's been years I've been here where somebody wanted 1. Remember that? So is it going to be 1? Is it going to be 2? Is it going to be 3? I think it's important that people know, like, no matter what, I'm employed here, I'm building tenure, like my wages are increasing, and I have the ability to earn extra on top of that. So I'm not saying 2% is the answer long term. I'm not saying that we can't as a county increase that either, but I'm saying you're right in saying that. But again, I'm looking at this from the county as a whole.
Sure.
So I don't
and
disagree.
it's our responsibility to advocate for our own department, right?
I respect you guys so much for what you do, and you know that, and I respect you. Sarah, I just want to compliment the way that you run the jail, but also advocate for your staff. I think that is something that the jail has always done well for. And I hear you. I do hear you. I see that there's a problem. I want to work to fix the problem. I don't agree with your plan, but that doesn't mean that I don't agree with the problem. So I did send you guys an email with the district just to make it easier to help you with that. And I do agree there needs to be, if I start here today, I know every year I'm getting 3% no matter what, and I'm getting an option for something else. That is my goal. That's what I hope we can do.
And I'm also trying to prevent, you did mention if we'll just say we bump it up $2,
Yeah,
and you're saying $2 across the board, moving forward, moving up. That's going to cost the county a lot more money than step plan.
maybe, but I think regardless, like you're talking about the step plan, but I'm saying like there's clearly an issue with 2337, right? So like from my perspective, and hear what I'm trying to say here, and I'm saying this for the roads too, we have to be competitive like now, today. I want to look at your entire staff. Like there's people you mentioned that are working 25 hours of overtime. Like I want them to be compensated in the interim today, now. I get what you're saying about the step, but I'm saying I think there's a quicker solution in making that modification and then ensuring that the growth keeps happening. It's not that I don't want to see that happen. I do. I'm just looking at it from a different perspective.
So is there a potential then that once we get this data and you look at this, that we potentially increase what the base salary is, and then in addition to that, is that still the 2 and 2 on top of that?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I'm suggesting.
Okay.
And what I was saying, I was trying to use the example like, okay, so let's say somebody's making, I'm not going to use this, $23 an hour, and the new starting based on what we decide on is going to be 25. Then we would make sure that we're making the adjustment for every one of the other correction officers, the difference. We're not just going to be like, okay, well now you're at the starting. That's not helping anything because they've built tenure, right? So I think naturally that's how you do that. And that's why I was asking the question about the 2% and the merit and the hiring bonuses. I'm just looking for the consistency. I acknowledge you and I acknowledge what you guys are saying. Again, I will say it repeatedly. Yes, there is an issue, but there's an issue with several of those hard to fill positions.
And that's
That
what
is what I'm
we want to
suggesting.
work with you guys for sure. We're looking for
Absolutely.
solutions. So I mean,
Absolutely.
that's
We don't get to the end of this working with percentages, all right? Because when we start talking about 2%, it winds up being cents.
Right.
What we need to look at here is what does it take in whole numbers, dollars? What can we do at the bottom end on a dollar basis? 2357 or whatever it is currently. Maybe that needs to be 2557 to get us in the ballpark. So we need to lose the perspective of percentages and move to that whole number. And I hate to go back to my years in the insurance business, but I worked at a step plan, and it was what we didn't have. It wasn't called a step plan. It was pay bands, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G and H. I think is where it went. And they only came around every 3 years and moved the bands. And even then, the bands didn't move very much. And what you really wound up doing is you were promoting people into another pay band. But you had your same kind of turnover issue because people weren't willing to wait 3 years to get to that next band.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I think your steps are not the answer to this. But I'm willing to look at the dollars. I think that's where this needs to start. Look at the whole numbers and get us in a competitive area. And that's where the data comes into play.
And when you're looking at the data, remember how I said, I'm not going to look at Thayer Johnson and be like, oh, well, like we're competitive with them. I think, look at it and we're open to suggestions. I don't remember if you said it or if you said it. We're going to lose people to the surrounding counties. Let's look at those and let's come up with a realistic number, thinking forward to the growth, right? And okay, they can do the percentage and this, and they're going to see so much every year. I don't want to change it this year and then next year be like, oh, we're $3 behind again. I want to be realistic in being competitive and keeping our staff.
Well, and NACO is in the process of doing their salary study, I believe, for next year. Is that correct, Roxanne?
No, survey that's I talked to
Yep.
every 4 years.
Oh,
So it will,
it's terrible.
so we'll get that in 2027
Mm-hmm.
published at the conference.
So it's already behind the ball, which is
what we were also behind. We were already
last time.
behind the last time because of the timing of the data when it came out.
In terms of countywide, that's really like countywide.
Yeah.
But within quarter, we're gonna
And when we look at this across the entire county, let's just use the roads as an example. The idea of the percentage versus a whole number works for them as well. You're not going to get what you want doing a percentage in cents. You got to work at the whole number level. And you got to make the big jump in a sense to bring things into line. And that's where we have a problem trying to find the money to do that. And I trust you for, I'll say, we're going to work very diligently to try and get to that point. But it's going to be a stretch this year. That's a given. No promises here. I'm not going to promise you a darn thing that I can't deliver. This is something that I don't think anybody on this board can deliver at 100% because we don't know exactly what we've got to work with.
I want to I want to reach out here a little bit and kind of remind everybody. Back in, I think it was 2014, there was a bond issue on the ballot for a new justice center, and it failed. Okay, and somehow, miraculously, somehow it got built. And what had happened was, from what I was always told, because I was kind of involved back then, and you know, the big push was, well, we're going to build a bigger jail so that we can hold people, we can hold outside prisoners, and we'll make money, and we'll pay off that bond quicker. And obviously that hasn't worked. Okay, so at full staff, we can get some safe keeps in here. Okay, safe keeps we're charging $87 a day. If you had 6 of them, that'd be $522 a day times 365 days. You're looking at $190,000. So it's not that we can't make this work, but we can't make it work by having a skeleton staff. If we can get full staff, have safe keeps, we'll get our new camera system in. Maybe we don't do that until the new camera system's in. We spent a lot of money on that. I mean, we've invested a lot. We're not asking for a tremendous amount of money here to move forward. Now, I know the arguments on the step plan, and I don't disagree with most of them, but we got to do something.
I agree. I think we're all saying that.
No argument with that.
But we can have money coming in. The $87 a day minus expenses, I don't know what that comes out to, what your expenses are per inmate. But there's some money there that we can use for.
She made that point. That we get that. I mean, we know that, and we talked about putting that aside to help with some of those costs for the Justice Center, which
Right.
was not initially done,
Right.
unfortunately.
Right.
And so it's important that we look to that for the future of the county. I don't think anybody's disagreeing. We want to help you. So I think we're just asking, call around, I want today's numbers. I don't want what's on the NACO website that's 4 years old. If you can bring that back and bring a suggestion too, I think it would be helpful for us next week.
And all you're looking for is current starting salaries from those counties. You want to know if they're unionized? You want to know if they have shift differential like we currently have labeled, or just the basic information?
I like what you have,
Yes.
but I think you asked for another piece of information. I like this information. Thank you for putting this together. But you had
Well,
asked
I
for
was
something
just
else.
looking at, I was just looking up some counties that are in our district to see what their openings are. And there are openings in the other county jails. So, again, I don't know if you guys will have time to do this or not because I know that you are short staffed. So if I need to call, I can call. But I would like to know kind of what is their attrition rate like? How many, you guys provided data. I think that would be helpful for us to determine like a decision when it comes to a dollar amount that we're going to try to make happen if that's the case. Because I think that weighs into decision making. Like, are they losing 6 people a year because they're going to another county where they're making more? I think that's important information to know when we're making a decision.
Your safe keeps. Is this something that is readily available? I mean, if you have the space, you can make a call and say, I got 10 beds, send me 10 people.
There wants to send us. And they
So
have done
the
that.
ability to do safe keeps is out there.
Yes.
And as we would fill our own jail with our own people, so to speak, we would have to cut back on the safe keeps.
Correct.
But I guess the point I'm making is between state and feds, anytime that you had empty beds, you can make a call and you could fill the space.
Correct.
Okay.
When we were doing the their safe keeps, how many on average were we doing? Because I know that would be a while for their jail.
I'd say about 3 to 4. On
Okay,
average.
that's helpful. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And were we doing generally any more regularly for any other county?
Other counties would call us all the time.
Okay.
Kind of ask us, hey, do you have bed space? And
On average, if you were, say, fully staffed, what do you think that number would be realistically?
I think we could easily house 6 to 8 inmates
Yeah.
from
Okay.
outside counties.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I do think it would be interesting, and I think it's important too, because I did talk to another commissioner in Saline County, and they said that their jail in and of itself is a revenue maker. I don't know
Well,
if
they
you've
house federal
spoken.
inmates, so
They,
that's different.
yes.
Yeah.
But aren't we qualified to be able to do that because we are PREA compliant? I mean, we have, if we are fully staffed, I mean, going back to what you had said about the Justice Center, and I mean, my understanding of that same conversation was that it was because, you know, and bringing in a programs coordinator and all of that to become PREA compliant was so we could house federal inmates. I mean, isn't
The only problem with the federal side is they usually request a certain amount of beds. They require a certain
To
amount of
hold.
beds to hold. Yes.
That's
And
tough to do.
yes.
It's yeah, I think the minimum is 10, and that's very difficult for us to guarantee a 10 bed space.
has it always been that way?
Well,
Just
last
out of
time
curiosity.
I had a conversation with someone about it, it was 10.
Do they pay to hold?
We probably never would have been able to do that then.
Like to hold the yes. I've never seen a contract. I've never been in a contract. I can't say for certain how the contract is read. I know there's negotiations because they are in dire need to house federal inmates outside of their facilities because there's a high need for them right now.
So let's get you guys up to competitive. Let's get some staff and then maybe we circle back to those discussions.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you both so much. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Sarah. Roxy, I know you helped too. Thank you. And we'll see you back next week.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go back to our 9:15 timed item, which is the second part of that, which is awarding rock and gravel bids for the road department.
Okay. So for the gravel bids, we would like to award all for those. And then for the rock, we'd like to award all for those as well. We have a kind of a plan in place for that, where it's not going to be just a free for all.
So you mean, okay, a question about that. I mean, clearly we don't get to pick the pit that they're hauling from, or do we?
Yeah. So with what we had last year, I mean, last year we used James Enterprise
Mhm.
because of all the amount of rain that we had, they were readily available. Our agreement that we had with them was, hey, we're going to use Beatrice as much as possible, but then Beatrice ran out of rock.
Got
So
it.
at that
Yeah,
point, we
remember.
had to shift to another pit. So with these contracts, we would write it up to where, hey, this is the designated pit we
Primary.
want to use as a primary. But if we have to, then we can use
So
the other two that are available.
of them, because there's the two that have two different pits, would Beatrice be the primary on both?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna use Beatrice as primary.
Okay.
And then
For both Vaught and James.
yeah, because you've got well, there's three different ones. You've got the Mid Nebraska.
Well, but they only had one pit, I thought.
No, they gave prices for, well, I guess they didn't list an actual
Yeah.
pit location.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, because there was different prices for Vaught and James, and so that's why I was saying, okay, our primary would be Beatrice,
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then depending on availability,
Hereford, and maybe Water.
then it
Yeah.
would be
Okay.
Kerford. I would like to avoid Martin Marietta because it seems like with Martin Marietta they changed how they have their accounts
Ah.
to where if you don't use them enough, they get rid of your account and you have to do the reapplication process all over again.
I see. Okay.
So
Where's their pit?
right across from Kerford's
Yeah.
Winning Water.
I didn't realize there was another one there.
Yeah, they're about right across the street from each other.
Yeah.
Kind of how it is with Johnson Sand and Gravel and Johnson Trucking. They're right across Highway 81 from each other.
Okay.
So that's what we'd like to do is award all for both gravel and for rock hauling.
Okay. Any other discussion? We'll take a motion.
I will move that we award the rock and gravel bids to all of the companies who provided bids per the suggestion of the highway superintendent.
Second.
Thank you. Please call roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, that is 4-4, one absent not voting to approve awarding the bids to all of the submitted companies per the highway superintendent's suggestion. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll go back to our untimed items. Item number 6 is appointing a member to the Planning Commission for the term beginning June 23rd, 2026 through June 22nd, 2029. I asked Marissa to pop back over. But as a reminder, the bylaws of the Planning Commission changed. And so I asked Marissa to put together sort of a listing that would show how the current members like fit into those places. And Marissa, just so you have Dale Neiman marked as Utica Staplehurst, but I have that it's Staplehurst Goner is one spot. And so as you can see, what that means is we have a lot of at-large members. So right now we have Pleasantdale, Garland, Seward. I'm guessing we would have Staplehurst Goner, Beaver Crossing, Cordova, which means we don't have somebody from Utica. We don't have somebody from Milford. I think that's it, right? So essentially we have 4 at-large, and there should be 2 at-large.
But isn't one of the applicants considered Seward
Yes.
based on their address?
Yes. So the current Seward Planning Commission member is Brent Schuckerbeer. He has reapplied. There is a second applicant who is from the Garland area, so he would be considered at large at this point.
and that is who?
Dave Kendall.
Yes. God, I remember
And I did look today because I was just curious if he had a Seward or a Garland address, and it looks like it's Garland. Yeah. So we have, like I said, 4 at-large members. If Dave was appointed, he would also be an at-large member at this point. And I think the Planning Commission, when they discussed this, I think there was agreement that it needed to be a wide representation from the county. So I think many of them probably have plans to help with that in the future. That's my guess.
I think one of the things that makes that position key is that you actually want to be there
Yeah.
and you actually want to do the work. As we've seen, there's a little bit of a disconnect there. And so for the people that want to be there, I think we should embrace them. You know, even though it's at large position, until we get more people that that are from Milford and from well, we already have Beaver Crossing, but
Utica is the other one that we're
Yeah.
missing.
So are you suggesting that there's one candidate versus another who meets that criteria as far as wanting or the willingness to do the work?
I'm just saying that I want to see people on that board that want to be there.
I think
And I know, and I
you're referring to the at-large members, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to. Okay. Not necessarily to the applicants.
We're only
No.
appointing one,
Okay.
right?
We just have one, and then there's 2 that will come up again in January. So 2 at-large members will come up again in January. So
This one that we're looking, is this going to fill an unexpired term for someone? Because we
No.
staggered this, didn't we?
no, that's why it's in the middle, is because it is staggered. There's 2 that aren't quite there. Most of them are at the end of the year, but there's 2 that are not, and this is one of them. So there's 1 in June, 1 in July.
So this would be a full term.
It is a full term. Yes.
But just June this year, and then everything goes to 27, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Then everything's in 27, and there's 3 that come up in 20.
Yeah.
Well, 4 that
4.
come up in 27. Yeah, but they stagger. So there's 2 in January, 1 in July, 1 in November.
Yeah.
So, Marissa, do you want to give us any insight into the applicants or your thoughts, or you want to give us nothing? Okay. Well, Scott and I are the Planning Commission liaison. So, what I will say is I think both applicants are qualified. I think they both bring good skills to the table. I know Dave has attended a lot of meetings and he's done a lot of work, and I know he has a desire to be on the board. Brent, while he's not always able to attend meetings. He has kids, and then that's the same for every planning commission member, right? They have families and they have other things going on. I do personally appreciate that Brent's very like neutral in a lot of things, and I think that me personally, I've appreciated watching him in that. I don't think he has like any gain or any, foot in any doors or anything like that. I find him to be very neutral. That's just me. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've worked with Brent for quite a while. I, I've had many conversations with Dave. I think he would do a great job. Um, I'm, I would be more inclined to probably move towards Brent just because of his experience. And then when we see some things open up in 27, definitely consider Dave for one of those positions. And that would create, or it would not create another at large. We could keep the Seward
Oh, yeah,
area.
I see what you're saying. Agree. Yeah.
I appreciate hearing from both of you in regards to current members. I have had the opportunity to hear from Mr. Kendall several times because he's been here.
Right.
And we've had some email exchanges and stuff outside of here too. So yes, I do think that he would probably do a good job. But also when you have a shift in bylaws and you're trying to change things so that it's more representative of the entire county, I think that that's extremely important. Because it is very heavily weighted on the eastern side of the county, which is not then representative of the entire county.
It is.
And so, um, with the with the feedback that you guys have given, and I agree with you 100%, Scott, that when those other positions that come up available on the east side of the county, then I hope that Mr. Kendall will resubmit, or can we keep his application
Yeah,
on
we
file,
can. We can
or
keep it.
okay,
And I'll touch base with him.
okay. If that is the case, then I hope that he would be willing to serve at that time, because I do think that it, while it's great to have people who have experience, it's also good to bring in people who are new and have a different perspective, but who are also willing to do the work, which I think that is the important piece to me, because there's been, I mean, we've had a lot of discussions. I don't go to planning commissions meeting because we would have an issue with quorum. And so, but again, I think that it's important to have people who are there and willing to do the work. So to in keep in mind the bylaws as they are currently written, my recommendation would be to appoint Brent Schleckabeer to the Planning Commission.
Do you have any?
I like Kendall. He's been here in front of us several times. He seems to be very knowledgeable. I sense there's a little bit of a passion on his part to do this. And I'm not going to discount Mr. Schleckabeer at all. I'll be the one outlier and say that I would almost prefer to have Kendall on this in this role. Either way, he's got stuff opening up at 27. So anyway, that's me. I would prefer to see Kendall on this at this point.
And I think Scott made this clear. Like, I would love to just offer to both of them. Honestly, it would be ideal because I think that they both bring something really valuable. But as I was counting, 6 of the 9 members live east of Seward, and that is challenging.
Schleckabeer lives where?
He is the Seward area rep. I think he lives southeast a little bit.
I think it's northeast.
Northeast.
Off
Okay.
of 252.
Okay.
So it's like just outside of city limits.
Yeah, so he really is the Seward rep. I think it's important to still have someone from Seward, or in the Seward area. Personally, but I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think Dave has a passion. I think he does the research and he brings information, which I super value about him. But I also suspect that there are other members who maybe are not planning to resubmit, and some of those seats might open up. And with 4 in 2027, hopefully there's ample opportunity. So I also would lean towards Brent. So just so that we're all on the same page, who are you selecting? No, she didn't. I'm just, before we get there, I want to make sure we're all on the same page.
I made a recommendation.
Oh, okay. As I stated before, I think reappoint Brent and
Ask Dave to.
Obviously, when the next ones come up, because 2 of them will be one middle of January, so it's not too far away.
No. Okay. I also think Brent, and you're
I can support either one.
Okay.
I mean, I can get behind Schleckenbeer if that's the direction the board wishes to take. Again, I stated my preference for Kendall, but I can get behind the Schleckenbeer with the idea that hopefully we keep Mr. Kendall in mind when we have another open.
I will visit with him and let him know what the conversation is.
so then Reagan, did you want to make a motion for your recommendation?
I will move that we appoint Brent Schleckabier to the Planning Commission for the term beginning June 23rd, 2026 through June 22nd, 2029.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Hein,
Yes.
McCary,
Yes.
Zabrowski,
Yes,
Yes. That's 4-1 absent not voting to appoint Brent Schleckabier to the Planning Commission for another full term. That's it. And Marissa, will you let Brent know for us? Thank you. Okay. Our next item is the consent agenda, and that consists of the clerk of the district court fee report for May of 2026 in the amount of $2,801.15. The county clerk fee report for May of 2026 in the amount of $83,870.34. The zoning fee report for May of 2026 in the amount of $3,100. And the Seward County Ag Society's request to place an electronic sign on the southwest corner of the courthouse square for the period through July 20th through July 28th to promote the 2026 Seward County Fair. Do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Will you please call the roll?
Zabrowski,
Yes,
Hein,
Yes.
McCary,
Yes.
Yes, that's 4-1 absent not voting to approve the consent agenda. Takes us to our last item, which is the agenda for June 16th.
right now we have claims and at 9:15 district five probation, budget, and law court.
I'm guessing you've already seen that, Barb. You have not seen it?
She just, Carrie Rodriguez wants to come talk, I think, I think it might be the budget.
Okay.
It's not like an actual interlocutor.
Okay.
Or anything
Okay.
like that.
statutory.
Do you want me to wait, until I hear something from Sarah? Or do you
No.
want me to go ahead and put that on?
I think we put it on, and we put it on towards the end again so we can have ample discussion.
So we'll talk about that. Okay. Then I have the Cubs workshop in Kearney next week, but it starts Tuesday afternoon. I was gonna have Devin do the meeting, but she's busy the last day of the fiscal year, so
Okay.
she's busy with that. So I will I'll come here in the morning for that, but probably we'll try to persuade people to go another week out if they have to.
Okay.
If that's what they do.
Yep.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Anything from anyone else? We'll take a motion to adjourn.
We adjourn the June 9, 2026 Board of Commissioners meeting at 10:53 a.m.
Second.
Will you please call the roll?
Zabrowski,
Yes.
Hein,
Yes.
Carrick,
Yes.
Yes, that's 4-1 absent not voting to adjourn the meeting.